Donald Trump has just signed an executive order to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Today, we've got on not only Jeff Booth and Robin Seyr on the show to discuss this, but also the mayor of Vancouver, Ken Sim, who is responsible for a now approved motion to investigate the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve for his city. Today, I've hand selected the perfect panel of guests to examine the seismic shift that has just taken place and explain why you may be surprised how little time there is left to accumulate Bitcoin before perhaps the largest nation state on earth deploys rumblings that I've seen of up to $1 trillion into the network. Welcome to Why Are We Bullish? I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session. All right, I want to welcome to the stage Robin Seyr, Ken Sim, and Jeff Booth. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Glad to have you. How are you all doing?
Great, buddy. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm raring to go. I'm hopped up on caffeine here, so I'm a little but off we go. I mean, just off the top, this strategic reserve. I want to pull up something from Lynn Alden here. That she dropped just today, a little article. And I just wanted to point out a couple things and get your guys' thoughts before we go into your reasons for being bullish today. So Lynn Alden, always love to hear her thoughts on what's going on. And so she gets into what happened with the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. The original tweet from Donald Trump, a couple days ago now, a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate the critical industry after years of corrupt attacks from the previous administration. He said that they're working to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Solana, Cardano, all these things. And then he had to then quote that and say, and obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum as well as other valuable cryptocurrencies. Now, this is different from what we heard last night with the actual signing, but the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve establishes that Bitcoin in the reserve shall not be shall not be sold. Rather, it also authorized secretaries of the Treasury and Commerce to develop a budget-neutral strategy for acquiring additional Bitcoin, as long as those strategies impose no incremental costs on the American taxpayers. And Lynn points out that the most interesting word in this entire signing was the word shall. So the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of Commerce shall develop strategies for acquiring additional government Bitcoin, provided that such strategies are budget neutral and do not impose incremental costs on the United States taxpayers. And she goes on to say, while this may just seem like semantics to many, the use of shall in this section of the executive order informs the secretaries this is not optional. They are required to develop these strategies. So I'm going to kind of start with it there. And I want to hear your guys' take on what we've seen over these past few days. Kind of the reaction to it, and are people interpreting this correctly? I've seen rumblings of, and I'll show one last thing before I get you guys to chime in. Here we have David Bailey mentioning various things that could be a non-burden to the American taxpayer, but again, he's rattling off numbers: surplus of ESF, 160 billion from selling SDRs. The gold certificate revaluation, which is interesting. They have, here it is, the official gold reserve in the US is 260 million ounces, but it's currently valued at $42.22 an ounce. If they marked it to actual market value, it'd be 770 billion. And Bailey is basically saying, like, all of these things add up to somewhere in and around 1 trillion of budget neutral Bitcoin buys. Now, I know there's a lot here to nibble on, so I'm going to open it up. Whoever wants to dive in, What are your thoughts? What is going on? How do we interpret this?
And it's been, I'll just quickly start with my initial thoughts there. I watched the very short crypto summit that was also going on, where Seyr was also presenting. Unfortunately, not speaking, but he was present there. I think my first thoughts is, which is super interesting, that everyone makes the distinguishing between Bitcoin and crypto. So like that separation is very clear. And I think that's extremely important because more and more people in the beginning had the problem. They come into Bitcoin and then they're like, okay, I have to also look in Ethereum, Solana, and all those other things. And now people get to see like, okay, it's Bitcoin, and I research Bitcoin. And yes, there's also something else, but it's completely something different. It's not a competitor to Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin, actually. So that's something that I look towards, which is super interesting in those kind of conversations. And also the no more hostile environment policy. Trump himself even said the choke point 2.0 is over. And he never wants to sell the Bitcoin that America now has. And those are some small snippets that I'm like, okay, that's really bullish. And then of like, what are other countries are now going to do? What is China now behind closed doors? South Korea, European Union doing? So I think that's just my initial thoughts there.
Yeah, I would agree with Robin. The executive order was really clear, and that was a good thing. It probably kicks off game theory in a bigger way, gives them some clarity for that. There's a comment by Luke in the comments that let's not talk about it now, but let's talk about it on this show for sure, because it's going to be important, really important. But high level is everybody is going to bend the knee to Bitcoin, period. It is imposing discipline bounded by energy on governments that don't have discipline, and so it's repricing the world other than the other way around. And most people are still pricing Bitcoin from the piece of paper. So that's going to lead to all sorts of chaos and confusion. But it literally, it doesn't matter if you're in Bitcoin, if you're running a node, if you're part of the network, you are Bitcoin. And you are part, and you know this, Ben, as much as anyone. And so it's more what's happening to all. It's the cognitive dissonance of our mind trying to understand that change, rather than anything in Bitcoin.
I love that, Ken. I'm curious your thoughts, given that you are in government, and is it imposing? Do you interpret Bitcoin as imposing some restriction or some reason in and around government and the way that money is spent in the future?
Yeah, so maybe I'll qualify the statement. So unlike a federal government, we do not have the ability to base currency. And so we are price takers like everyone else. And from that perspective, in general, we absolutely love it. It provides us with a path to, sovereignty and or financial sovereignty in it. It could set up the city for the next 100 years. This is, so personally, I think it's great. As the mayor of Vancouver, it really is bittersweet. Overall, it's great. It legitimizes that much more the direction that we want to go into, and it gives a lot of people cover to anyone who's pursuing it. And on the flip side, it just means our runway is a lot shorter to figure this one out. And so we have a lot of roadblocks in front of us that may take 4, 5, 6 months to jump over, and we'll still be early, but we will lose a big opportunity if we're slow on this.
I want to ping pong one thing to Jeff and then back to Ken, because Jeff, one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to paraphrase the hell out of it, so forgive me, but that you were asked a question, I believe when you were visiting El Salvador, by people who were against the initial Bitcoin law, and they asked you, what is the worst thing about Bitcoin? And do you recall what you told that person?
Yeah, your enemies could use it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but your enemy using it makes it better and
Makes
stronger.
it better for you. Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is perhaps for Ken here, do you see this announcement under the current U.S. administration, given that everything is so partisan right now, really everywhere, like people are very, very at each other and divided. Do you think that people that sit on the other side of the political aisle will knee-jerk say, if they like it, I don't, and that's going to become an issue depending on who's in power or who's opposing?
Yeah, like I can't speak for a future administration, but our experience has been we already experienced that right now. And so, maybe I'll set this up a little differently. I don't consider myself a politician. I'm an elected official. This is not a stepping stone. I do not want to be a premier. I don't want to be a prime minister. We just want to fix this place and make it better because our 4 boys didn't see a future for themselves in Vancouver. And that's why we're pursuing Bitcoin, because I think this can set up the city for the next 100 years. So to deal with that, to get the politicians on board, we actually put on sessions. We invited, Jeff has offered to help educate people, and he has, and a whole bunch of other people in the community. And I can tell you, our opposition councillors, the ones that attack us, who use all the same BS, like, it's bad for the environment, used by organized crime, it's a Ponzi scheme, all that crap. Not once have they attended any one of these sessions to get educated by a third party. And so, it's disappointing, it's frustrating, but that's how politicians act.
Yeah, unfortunate. Robin, I'll give you the last word on this little topic here. Anything that you wanted to pull from that last exchange?
I think it's really important that we. I made a small tweet about that. I'm really bullish on individuals and families having Bitcoin, and not that a fan that governments and those have Bitcoin. But even though I'm not a fan of Bitcoin, is still for enemies. Bitcoin is still permissionless. Even the government, even central banks can have Bitcoin. So for me, what I'm looking for is like, okay, what are the regulations around Bitcoin? Are they hostile against Bitcoin? How are they taxing it? Maybe we can release taxes under 10,000 or like maybe 5,000 euros or dollars. And that's kind of like those stepping stones I'm way more a fan of, and if America buys it, it probably will make number go up a lot more parabolic in the future, which is also great. But it's more of the validation that comes for Bitcoin, and less of I'm a fan of the government buying it. So the strategic Bitcoin reserve should be the families and individuals holding Bitcoin. I think that's the main message there.
I like that. Create your own family's strategic Bitcoin reserve. Perfect. Well, gentlemen, of course, the title of this show is Why Are We Bullish? And we kind of started it off with some of the crazy stuff that's going on, but each of you also have your own individual reasons for being bullish. And we're going to get to that right now. We may touch on the reserve one more time before the end of the video, because I got a couple things that I wanted to say on it. But Robin, I'm going to keep it with you. I'm going to cue you up with the same question everybody gets. Why are you bullish?
It's really interesting because when you are like me and interviewing everyday different Bitcoiner, you get very quickly in a position where you have a big bubble around you, a big echo chamber where a lot of positive Bitcoiners are around you. But I have my arms out with my girlfriend is going in a chemistry startup where there are non-Bitcoiners. There's my mom that works a normal job. My dad, like all those people that are close to me that are still outside of Bitcoin, because as many know, I work entirely and only for Bitcoin. So it's super interesting to hear, okay, when I go to a company event of my girlfriend, I'm like, what are they saying about Bitcoin? And one thing that makes me super bullish is that most people actually see Bitcoin now as part of their strategy, especially for me, the younger crowd. They are seeing, okay, if I want to invest in something outside of the euro, and they have to invest in something, Bitcoin is now like, oh, I have to make a 1% or 2% or 3% allocation, and this gives me a lot of hope of like, okay, the general population that is outside of my Bitcoin bubble also get, okay, at least something I should have in Bitcoin. They don't get the thesis, they don't get why Bitcoin revolutionized money, they don't get the deflationary price of tomorrow thesis, but they get intrinsically like, I have to get some of it, that's the main thing I'm really bullish on, and I told that story I think in the chat before. I bought a robot vacuum cleaner just a month ago, and now my mom wanted to have the same one, and it got 100 euros more expensive on the website, and she's like, oh, that's why we need Bitcoin, and small things like that makes me really happy that people around me, but also people further out to me actually slowly get Bitcoin, because I think we have to look a little bit outside of our bubble to see the real adoption, and not just within our small community.
Yeah, it is refreshing to see that Overton window shift, and gone are the days of you saying the word Bitcoin and people saying, what's that? Like, that's just a very rare thing nowadays. And there's I think we are kind of on the cusp of that just general acceptance that it's there. People are still a little mystified by it if they haven't ever dabbled, but they're aware of it. I'm curious, Ken, you've obviously, through what you've been doing with the city, you've come across a lot of different people, and I'm sure a lot of people have different takes on it, but what's your feel in terms of just general familiarity with the fact that Bitcoin exists and what it is?
You mean in the city of Vancouver? Where are we? Like the residents and what have you?
Maybe give me a read on the residents versus the people that are calling the shots for the city as well, the people that you're surrounded with.
Yeah, it's really interesting during this journey. I was surprised to, how do I put this? And I'm going to contradict myself here. I was surprised to see how many people had a negative visceral reaction to it. And I'm talking about very smart people that I respect, not just as entrepreneurs or business minds, but also as good human beings. And, they still have these cognitive biases and they're against it. On the flip side, I was also blown away by how many Bitcoiners were closeted that have started to come out. People that have been ostracized, but now we've given them, political cover for them to come out. And the flip side is one other thing I was surprised about. What we find is I thought it would just be younger people that would really understand this. And there are some young people that understand it, but it's really people from different countries. And so the Iranian janitor, custodian, will come up and go, yeah, we love your view on Bitcoin. It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, oh yeah, no, we get it. Your background, where you came from, you needed it, you understood it. And so it's been a fascinating journey.
I love that. Side note, my Lebanese barber absolutely gets Bitcoin, and now, unprompted by me, he has asked if I want to pay in Bitcoin every time I come in. So I didn't even have to twist his arm to do it. Now I come in, he's like, oh, you want to pay in Bitcoin again? He's got his Lightning wallet ready, and it's great. I love it. So Jeff, I got to toss it to you. What's your read on where are we in terms of understanding and acceptance? And I know those are two different things.
So insanely early. So insanely, so broadly, and I'll get into it and why I'm bullish. But it's the same thing when I speak to the counselors that Ken's talking to. When I talk to, if I use Ken as an example, if I use me as an example, if I use any Bitcoiner I know as an example, every one of us goes through the stages of removing our bias of the other system and moving into the system. And that takes a bunch of time to get to the here. Once you're here, you don't go back. But through that path, there's a whole bunch of people that, if you said the alligators and the crocodiles and all of the chaos and crypto nonsense and everything, there's just so much nonsense to go through to go through that path. And what ends up happening is people get scared through that path, and they just, or it's too big a deal, and they put their head in the sand. And even when you understand it, by the time you understand it, and then where do I buy it? How do I buy it? That's why some of your work, Ben, that you do is so important, is you don't know who to trust in this minefield of nonsense, right? In this, and what at the highest level, if it's as big as we think it is, which it is, right? It would have to look like this. It would have to look a chaotic, crazy transition as every one of our brains changed to be able to move to the new system. So when I'm not in kind of my primary world, investing in Bitcoin and doing all of the work with all Bitcoiners, which is so abundant, so beautiful, so everything else. When I step into the other world and I see where most people are, they're not close. They're not. We're a long way away.
Yeah, there's plenty of work to do. That's absolutely certain. But it is exciting that people are at least familiar, right? Because I mean, we all had the same first. Oh, it must be a scam.
So I don't think, when I say that, I actually don't say that as a negative. I say that as a positive, because what that means is we're so early in it repricing everything else that there's so much opportunity in it. Because the problem, any problem creates an opportunity for entrepreneurs. Any single thing that's scarce creates a value for entrepreneurs to solve in the free market. So what do you think this chaotic system that's consolidating and centralizing creates? It creates a massive opportunity if you know it, you want to learn it, and move in to solve problems that other system does. So I actually don't look at that as, if you're saying the price of Bitcoin in paper money today, I don't care, right? And you don't care. I look at the opportunity that it presents for every one of us, and what you can do by moving your time into it.
Yeah, my favorite laundry list of things you can do to have a bit of a cheat code for life is provide value for others, spend less than you earn, and save in money that nobody can print. That does you pretty well. Yeah. Gentlemen, I love this topic. We are going to do a pivot, and Ken, I'm going to come to you next. Before I do, though, we're going to take a quick little breather / shout out to sponsors of the show. When we do get back, everybody watching, of course, before we go to break, smash that like button. Much appreciated when you do, if you are enjoying the conversation so far. And we're going to give away some sats on the other side of the break. So get your lightning wallets ready, because one person will steal them from the rest of you. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/btcsessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Are you ready to level up your Bitcoin mining game? Mining Disrupt is the world's largest Bitcoin mining conference and expo, and it's happening March 25th through 27th, 2025 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Network with industry leaders, discover cutting-edge hardware, and gain insights from world-class speakers. Plus, enjoy exclusive events like the Cigar Lounge and pre-party for meaningful connections. I'll be there, and I'd love to see you. Use the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen right now to receive 20% off your tickets. Don't miss out. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multisig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan. All right, we are back in. I'm going to do a quick little SAT giveaway here. I'm just pulling up Bitcoin Well here, and the way it works, you just need a Lightning wallet, and the first person that ends up scanning the QR code that pops up on the screen will be the one to snag it from everybody else. I will also put Bitcoin Well off to the side if you want to check them out there. But in the main browser window, the way it works, when you sign up, when you buy Bitcoin, when you refer friends, you earn points, and then you can use those points to toss a coin in the Bitcoin wishing well. Each time you do, you have a chance to win up to 1 million sats. So we're going to do just that now, and away it goes. And again, whoever scans this first will snag 210 sats. Only one person gets it though. So if you get an error, it's because somebody stole them from you, and you need to be quicker next time. So there you go, and congrats to whoever sniped the sats from everybody else. And we're going to dive right back in. So Mersim, I am looking right at you, and I'm going to cue you up with the same question. Why are you bullish?
Well, I think it's going to change everything. It's going to make this world an incredible place. You know, we can talk about how it's going to save the environment, how it's going to eliminate a lot of wars and make a lot of wars shorter. It's going to allow people to store their energy into the future. People will be able to build a life, buy a home, actually have kids. You know, we see people that are pushing off having families, and so this changes everything.
Ooh, you dropped a ton of bombs there in like 3.5 seconds. You basically outlined a number of things that Bitcoiners often point to. Maybe let's pull on a thread of, let's take a look at, and I know it's a spicy topic right now, but let's take a look at war. Do you want to maybe elaborate a little bit? Okay, so how does Bitcoin maybe shorten and limit the ability of wars to continue to go on forever?
Yeah. So back in the day when you had to pay in something that was real, like you had to pay soldiers in gold. Once you ran out of gold, there was no more war, because most people just said, "I'm not dying for nothing," and so they left. Mm-hmm. And so, and people are being tricked now with, the printing press, and they think they're earning something, but they really aren't. And so once we migrate over to a Bitcoin standard, people are actually going to value these things, and you just can't give them out because you can't buy them back. On the flip side, in addition to, gold, countries can actually invade other countries to get gold. There's nothing to invade. Right? Like you can't invade a country to steal their Bitcoin. It doesn't work that way. And so there are a whole host of reasons why wars, a lot of them won't happen. People are going to have to think, or not people, governments are going to have to think long and hard whether or not they want to fight a war in the first place.
I love that. It's almost as if you've been hanging around Jeff a whole bunch.
Yeah, I just try to repeat what Jeff says.
I love that. Jeff, I want to volley to you. Maybe you can tap on what Mersim was saying in regards to families, people putting off having kids. A lot of people have trouble stringing together how a plummeting birth rate could be downstream of fiat money. But maybe you want to touch on that.
Yeah, and by the way, and just with Ken and I, before I go, just if you think about kind of what starts things and having somebody curious enough to learn, like we all started somewhere and we weren't curious, right? And we're in this other system trying to fix it. Ken was too, without a fix from that. And so our friendship kind of led to a deeper dive and an exploration, and it takes time for everybody to come to that. So but so if you tied to your question, so houses going up or everything going up, every single thing in the world that is and when Bitcoiners say Bitcoin fixes this, it literally fixes all of these things. We can't see it because we're both the map and the territory, and we're giving most of our strength to the other system, and we're giving it to it. And so we're putting money, or people are putting money into houses because money's bad. And you can only store it in houses or the stock market. And so the stock market valuations go crazy, and they keep on like going higher and higher, and they're ridiculous. If you actually looked at real value, house values go ridiculous because money is bad. The house becomes the store of value against the bad money, and it keeps on climbing, and then more people want it. And then the tax rates go up on that. And so you're essentially renting a house from the government. And you think you own it, and it's because it has a monetary, it's attracted a monetary premium simply because money is bad. But in Bitcoin, houses are falling back to their utility value, and not only the utility. So you know this, if you measure in Bitcoin, the house is falling back to its utility value, and then the free market works against all the products inside the house. And as they get more efficient, all of the lumber, all of the labor, all of that gets more efficient, the house price falls not to its marginal cost of production. The materials fall to the marginal cost of production, and the house falls to its utility value. And in that system, you don't have to live in a debt system forever. You provide value to other people. You can buy the house outright. And you can raise your family, and like houses used to look like 100 years ago, and communities thrive out of that example. So if you're measuring everything else in the broken money, it would seem normal to you to do the things in the broken money. You would be putting off family, you'd be putting off all of these things because you'd feel like, how could I feed my children? And so it would all seem normal from that system, which is the most abnormal thing that we could ever imagine. But it's all been, it just happens so slowly, you don't know it's happening.
Yeah, I wanna touch on the housing thing in two ways. One is going to be throwback to anybody who has an appreciation of the 90s. But I just saw this clip the other day from Boy Meets World. And it's Corey and Topanga are getting older. They're moving out. They're getting their own first house for the first time. They were in Philadelphia at the time, and they're looking at houses. And the quote, Topanga, the girl, she says, "How on earth are we possibly going to afford an $80,000 house?" And so then the guy dissects the actual pricing and wages then and everything for that specific city. But Philadelphia, I believe, the house was 80 grand. The average take-home pay in Philadelphia, this was 1999, the average take-home pay was $40,000. The down payment on the house with the requirements at the time would have been $2,400. And the interest rates were roughly what it is right now in the States, around 7%. But the monthly payment was like $700 and something. And now the average house price in Philadelphia is $250,000, which is way below the national average. But the take-home pay, the average take-home pay, is $60,000. So the price of homes went up like 213%. The take-home pay went up 50%. So it's, again, like basically house prices tripled and somebody got a 50% pay raise. And so like it's just crazy. And Ken, I'm sure you're about to comment on the state of things in Vancouver. And I'm sure that you've also seen the shorts that guy makes that are called Canadian real estate or literal European castles. Please tell me you've seen those skits.
I've seen I've seen that. No, just to add to that, that point that you just made, I ran numbers, and I remember hearing a stat a long time ago that said the average house price in Vancouver has not changed in the last 100 years. And so I had to prove it to myself. And so the latest data I looked at was from 1995 to 2022. And so in 1995, the average house price, detached home in Vancouver, cost 500 grand. And at the end of 2022, it cost 2.43 million, or it went up 383%. And that sounds normal. If you're from Vancouver, it's like, yeah, that's been our experience. But over that same period, when priced in gold, in 1995, you could buy the average house for 958 ounces of gold. And at the end of 2022, it's basically the same, 957 ounces.
Wow.
It didn't change. Now, you can say I cherry picked those dates, but if you, over that same period, if you take out the outliers, the variability was plus or minus 11%. Whereas in terms of fiat currency, it just rocketed. And so, yeah, no, our currencies are getting debased. The value of gold's not going up. The value of our homes aren't going up. The purchasing power of our dollars are going down significantly, and that's how people are getting screwed.
Yeah,
like everything's feeling.
I like that. Again, that I think it's when you price the stock market in gold, it's basically flat for however many past decades. And the other thing that I like when people say price in gold, an ounce of gold will always buy you a good suit. And that's, I mean, yeah, an ounce of gold right now for an expensive suit. Yeah, not bad. Robin, I want to hear your thoughts here too.
It's super interesting. I think one website that I bring up a lot in my podcast is Priced in Bitcoin, where you can basically see the real estate market, where you can the stock market, basically everything that you can possibly price, like even orange juice and things like that. And this is a really interesting one where you make the flip of like, I don't price Bitcoin in my euros or for you Canadian dollars. I price everything else in Bitcoin. And obviously it's hard to do it day to day because you have to transact with those euros and it's hard to always make the calculations. But I've started measuring my own success in like how many Bitcoin or Satoshis did my net worth go up, and two things happen with that. The first thing which happens is it makes it way more smooth. It makes it way more realistic what's actually happening, and not the crazy net worth going up and down in euro terms. And the second thing with that is you realize that Bitcoin is actually the fixed thing, and everything else is kind of volatile. And this is really interesting, because if you look too much at the Bitcoin price and Bitcoin is going up this month like 50% or 60%, you feel really good. But if you feel good on the upside, you probably feel bad on the downside. And I think that's like, if Bitcoin is going up 50%, we're not 50% smarter, and the same way on the downside, we're not getting dumber just because Bitcoin is going down this month in US dollars or in euros. So I really like to make that shift of let's price things in Bitcoin as much as possible. And I have an understanding that day to day it's hard, but I think the first step we can take is just seeing our net worth in Bitcoin and making the unit of account switch.
Yeah. I forget who said it, but somebody said Bitcoin isn't volatile. People are. And we're trying to discover what the price of Bitcoin should be. And we're a little finicky about doing it, I think. Does anybody have any last thoughts in and around this topic before we make a shift? Again, this could I guess I'll speak a little bit, even just myself and some of my experiences around family, like the family unit, and just the existential dread that so many people have in and around being able to just afford kids. Like so often I hear like how there's many people that I've known that I think would have loved to have had kids, but they reached their late 20s and they're either still at home, or just to get by, they've got to live with multiple roommates, and their only hope of moving out of that situation is to find a long-term partner. But then once they do, they move out, and it requires a dual income to just make ends meet, to afford their bills as is. And they're thinking like, how do we introduce a child into this if we're barely scraping by, let alone have a large family. Whereas I look at, I mean, my father-in-law is one of 9. That's unheard of today. I don't think I know anybody my age that is on their way to 9 kids, except for maybe some Bitcoiners. There's a Bitcoin baby. But I'm just saying it's not the norm nowadays. Like, I mean, Jeff, would you attribute at least part of that or the bulk of it, I don't know, to the fact that we've kind of been disenfranchised just by the nature of the system?
For sure. But in other countries, remember, we're on the winning side of the system. So the worst person here is stealing from other countries at a crazy rate. And when you get into that stage, people are having kids so that they can live, right? So that they can, so that those kids can go out and collect money from other people. So when you look at that across the world, because we live in an extractive system and we're closer to the top of that extractive system. And the only reason we're feeling it here is it's starting to affect people here. But this has been going on for a long time. And it's a zero-sum game in the system that we live in. And Bitcoin is a cooperative game. It's a different game that every node makes. So look at what's happening right now on this. We'll look at what's happening with Ken. Let's just use Ken as an example. I'm sorry, I'm going to do this, Ken, but
all good.
But the courage that it takes to step out from what you're doing, once you understand it, and it takes a long time to understand it. Am I right? Is this? But the courage that it takes to step out into and activate. Now you're a node in this system, and because you do that, other people do that too, and they don't know, and they're attacking you everywhere. And I watch it, and you're getting attacked, but you know all the answers, and there is no attack that you can't defend. And people are either putting their head in the sand and taking ad hominem attacks, right? But their attack has no merit, zero, because you know this is true because you've done all the work. And so you add your voice, you become a node. The network gets stronger by every single person doing this. You're living in the first cooperative game the worlds have ever lived in. That's in service of all of us, and it's wild to watch. So it's, and is that what does that mean at its base? We are it, right? All of us, every single person adds their voice to it, and it gets stronger.
Well, the good thing is I'm used to baseless attacks at home, so I wish Tina was here to hear that joke. Let me tell you. Maybe can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and look, I got to qualify this with I am not qualified to give investment advice. So anything I say, please don't take it as advice. Don't trust, verify. But I see, and by the way, I know I'm going to be comparing Bitcoin to dollars here, and I know that's not what we do. I don't do that anymore. But I actually think there's an opportunity for people that think that they're shut out of the housing market to place an asymmetrical bet, which I actually think is high probability, but once again, don't trust. Like, you could buy a Bitcoin for what, $88,000 US or whatever that is, 120 grand Canadian right now, right? And if you think that in 5 years that's going to go up significantly, there will be a time, because like everything's falling to utility value, and at some point in time, the not so distant future, you'll be able to buy a house for a Bitcoin or less. Really, if you're willing to do it, you can take out a loan in fiat currency for 120 grand Canadian, carry it for like 4 or 5 years, and at the end of the 4 or 5 years, you have a house. So all of a sudden, all these people, like we see it all the time, where we see a family of 2 doctors that are priced out of Vancouver, and they have no hope of getting home. And now we're talking about an asymmetrical bet where you take out a loan for 120 grand. I'm not saying do it, but I'm saying think about it, do your own work. And if you believe it's going to play out how we think it's going to play out, all of a sudden you're in the housing market.
Yeah. It is crazy to see what has happened. And I mean, Jeff, you've done the whole experiment of, hey, I priced out my house in Bitcoin however many years ago versus now, and it's just like you often say, we're living in the future. This is what the future is like. You pay for something, and the money that you paid at the time is going to have greater purchasing power later. So you have to go through the cognition of, do I really want this thing? So it also, again, Ken, to your earlier point, how it can also be an environmental thing. It gets away from the disposable nature of things because people are more conscious of what they purchase. Like, do I want something quality, or am I going to buy the rickety, crappy thing that I'm going to replace again the next year? No, I'm going to go to, I'd always talk about my kitchen table because when I moved into my house, we're looking at the crappy IKEA, whatever. And then we're like, oh, we're going to replace this thing in no time. And instead, what I did is I ended up spending more, but it's for a table that should a tornado roll around and take out my house, that thing's still going to be standing there. It's made of solid oak with a marble top. And my friend who is local made it for me. And so that thing is like, that's now a family heirloom. So I think it shifts our perception of value. And rather than looking for the cheap, quick thing, you're going to look for the robust thing that's going to last forever, so you never have to replace it. Yeah. Gentlemen, we're going to do one more rotation. Jeff, I'm going to come to you in just a moment. We're going to take just a quick breather and shout out to sponsors. But everybody that's in the chat, we've got 430 some odd people live on YouTube right now. We've got 2,700 people across all platforms that have been watching throughout the show. And if you all could, if you're in the YouTube live chat, please do give that like button a tap. It really does help. So if you're enjoying the conversation, slap it now. We will be back in just one moment. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multisig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, ColdCard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The ColdCard Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The TapSigner gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTCSessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. All right, we are right back in. By the way, if anybody does want to check out and grab a ColdCard, it's my daily driver. I'm regularly, again, living on Bitcoin for 5 years now, but this is my cash flow and use day-to-day kind of thing, and it's a dream. So anyways, there's a QR code over there. You can get 5% off everything ColdCard related. Check them out. They're also in the show notes down below. But with that, Jeff, I'm looking at you. I don't know. You have a way of talking about the impending crumbling and rebuilding of society that just totally puts me at ease, and I can't really but I'll preface it with that. But we'll segue to you, Jeff. Why are you bullish?
So, and it feeds off what Robin was saying, and we talked a little bit about. But I'm at a conference in California right now called Forward Global, and it's about 400 family offices, some of the wealthiest families in the world. So there's about $350 billion kind of here, looking at philanthropy, how to make changes in the world. And it's staggering. So I spoke at a conference like it, a smaller one with a number of different billionaires in Bliss in Costa Rica earlier in the year, kind of connecting the dots between democracy, freedom, and one of the things I'm fascinated by is how many people are trying to fix the system from the system and making it worse. And all of this money, they can feel the same pain, right? And when you really get to know them, in your Bitcoin bubble, you think these are the bad people and everything else. It couldn't be further from the truth. They actually care about solving some of these pain. In fact, they're investing billions of dollars into Africa, into different places to try to solve this, into trying to topple dictators and put in democracies. And all of the dictators are getting more powerful, right? Why would that? The freedom in the world is going down, because if you just said, does anybody actually live in a democracy when you don't have a vote for how much money is being taken from you each year? And I'm not even talking about taxes. I'm just talking about the difference, the gap from the productivity rate that should be deflationary to the inflation rate. You don't have a vote, right? So if you don't have a vote in probably one of the most important things in your life, we don't live in capitalism. We live in crony capitalism. We don't live in free markets, and that is and it's such a big deal that's hard for people to hear the first time, because they think they do, and they think their actions are kind of. You don't want to feel like you want to feel like you're doing good in the world, and a lot of these people think they are, but they're making it worse. It's not like a whole bunch of Dr. Evils saying, how can I consolidate this? They actually think they're doing good, and they're making it worse. And it's the same thing that you faced, Ben, I faced, because at first we had a hedge in Bitcoin, right? And most of our time was in the other system trying to make enough money to be able to kind of move Bitcoin. And then we woke up one day and we said, what the hell are we doing? We're making the other system stronger, and we move our time to the new system. And as we move our time to the new system, that everything gets better for us and everyone else, because it's this cooperative process. That process, that's why I say it's not about Bitcoin. It's about us, each one of us, all 8 billion people in the world, moving down that path. But once you're there, you don't go back. You start to contribute, you do more. And every single person in Bitcoin, whether you're teaching, yelling at a shitcoin, investing in entrepreneurs that are looking for other vulnerabilities, other attack vectors, everything, building the second, third layer, all of these people building into Bitcoin are making this that network stronger for all of us, in service of all of us. And so when I go back and forth between these worlds, and I watch how far away they want to get it, but how far away, and when you crack the code, talk to them in their language, and you crack the code, and you can see their minds melt. And it's going to take some time, because then they have to go through that cognitive dissonance that we all did. And they'll probably start small, and then they'll probably do more. But I'm watching it. I'm watching kind of funds flow move the other way. It trickle at first, but then it'll be a flood. And again, it happens in each of us as we come to understand this new protocol.
There's few things that are better than getting to live vicariously through somebody that's discovering Bitcoin for the first time. You get to relive that moment. You get to see it in their eyes and wish that you had that moment back. It's very exciting watching people break through those barriers. I love experiencing it just from a technical perspective, but again, from a worldview perspective, you know, that's not my that's not my forte. But I like listening to you talk to people and watch them have their brains melt. It's a fun thing to be around. It's really something. I'll open it up to Ken or Robin if you guys want to tackle what Jeff has just said here.
Maybe it's interesting. Jeff is actually a huge inspiration of mine. Why I went last year in February all in Bitcoin. I basically went last year in January, said like, oh, I have to quit this fiat thing, and I really want to focus on Bitcoin. And I had a YouTube channel with like 400 subscribers, like no income secured or anything like that. Also not a huge Bitcoin stack, but I was like, okay, maybe if I'm good, I can live off my Bitcoin stack maybe for a year, and did this basically. Luckily, I never had to touch it, and it went all good, but I had the realization I had to be in Bitcoin, and now I'm getting my income in Bitcoin. I'm actually paying one of my post-production members in Bitcoin. So there's like this circular economy all of a sudden coming in, and this all happened in 1 year. But before that, there's a lot happening. You have to get Orange Pill. You have to learn about those things. I was a stock pro before. I had to go through this barrier that an asset has value also if it doesn't has a cash flow. That was a huge barrier for mine, and just looking at those stories that Jeff, Ben, and I also myself and Ken also went through. It takes time to make that switch in the head, and what's for me also really important, which is sometimes a little bit overlooked in the Bitcoin community, is we have to do it kindly and not pushingly, and I don't like that attitude of like have fun staying poor. I'm more of like let's keep pushing a little bit, and let's be there as educators to help them go through that process, because I know I needed a solid 3 years to go over from 2017 to 2020 to even go over that step of Bitcoin is a scam. I needed 3 years for that, and then I needed another year to go all in with my money, and then another 3 years to also go with my time all in. So it takes time, and we should be aware of that, and we should not push people hard, or even maybe pacify them with like have fun staying poor.
Yeah,
you know, being a little vulnerable here, and maybe giving you a little bit of history. When my boy, one of my sons, came up to me and said, "Dad, I want to buy Bitcoin." And my background was I'm a chartered accountant, former investment banker, private equity. So like, obviously, I must be the smartest person on the planet, right? So when my boy came up to me and said, "Dad, I want to buy Bitcoin," I said, "You touch that shit, I'm going to punch you in the throat." And then, you know, we had these conversations. I got curious. I spoke with Jeff, read his book, you know, read 12 books at the time adjacent to not just Bitcoin, but like, you know, when money dies, like layered economy or token economy, layered money, a bunch of books, went to a bunch of conferences, and then I flipped. But, you know, I think, and where I'm being vulnerable is, I don't know if over the last few years, I haven't afforded the newbies the same luxuries. Like, come on, why don't you get this? It's so obvious. You know, and we buy books and read the Bitcoin Standard and view God Bless Bitcoin and hear all the things. And if you don't get it, I don't say it overtly, but it's like, Jesus. But you know what I found actually is instead of preaching, what I've done lately is I've gotten people to download wallet of Satoshi or a Coinos Lightning wallet, and then I just give them $20, and it happens within a minute, and people are like, "Wow, That's it. Yeah, and we just demystify the process. And I've been doing that for about a month and a half now, and I can tell you the uptick in getting people super curious has been it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just costs you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what? But here's the thing: if we migrate to the Bitcoin standard,
It doesn't cost you exactly.
Or can kind of make this place way better.
Yeah. So Ken, I want to throw something your way in regards to Vancouver specifically. Earlier, Robin alluded to kind of creating a circular economy, even just amongst him, like paying people that are working for him. Same thing over here on my end. And I've been kind of stringing together living on Bitcoin since 2020. So for those unfamiliar with this website, this is btcmap.org. And this is Vancouver. And so I'm going to, maybe I'll pull this up here a little bit. But this is when you get into like downtown Vancouver, there's actually quite a lot of businesses that accept Bitcoin. And you mentioned Coinos, this wallet here, but this map is largely thanks to one of the guys from Coinos, Cole. That guy is like a one-man wrecking ball, and he just goes through that city and gets merchants, brick and mortar merchants, to dive into Bitcoin. He helps them through everything, shows them how to use wallets and everything. It's wild what he's able to accomplish. We need a Cole in Calgary here. I would love to have a Cole. Maybe we'll steal him one day.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll entice him. But I mean, I think this is part of it. I think this is how we win, because yes, like top-down regulatory approval, things like that, those are very, very nice. But it's just one regime change away from people stamping that out. And so I think that really where it's at is that grassroots building communities of people that understand that this is better money. And I think that, potentially paired with people that are in positions of power that begin to understand it is huge. But without those grassroots communities and people on the ground that are just going to use Bitcoin no matter what anyways, that top down is very fragile. And so I love the idea of these communities coming together and people helping each other out with their learning. I'm very excited. I'm going to be in town for this coming up, Learning Bitcoin in Vancouver, August 16th and the 17th. Jeff and Ken, are you going to be around for that?
Yeah, I'm going to be there for sure. I think I'm speaking there as well.
Nice.
So I can't believe I can't be in Vancouver for the conference. I was there in Victoria last year, but funny enough, my son is speaking at that conference.
Oh, I'm gonna have to hit tell him I'll be there. I'll tell him I'll be there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. If any of you are ever out Calgary way, the way that we're trying to accomplish it, we've got the SAT market here. And so we went to the Bitcoin meetups first and said, like, hey, you all have businesses, you do, offer goods and services and all these different things. You already know that Bitcoin's better money. Why wouldn't you just, you're earning dollars and buying Bitcoin. Why don't you cut out one of those steps and accept Bitcoin as well and save some of that? And, we've been running this for about a year and a half. We've got another one coming up end of June in and around the Bitcoin Rodeo, which is an event that we throw here yearly. And now because of this, I can get so much stuff with Bitcoin. I just stocked my freezer with beef for Bitcoin. I've got a Bitcoin dentist. I've got a Bitcoin personal trainer. I've got a Bitcoin plumber because my 3-year-old likes to shove toys down the toilet. I've got all kinds of great stuff that I can get with Bitcoin. And it's just thanks to building local communities with like-minded people. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I love seeing that in Vancouver. I love seeing that all around. So
yeah, Ben, I love what you're doing there. And what we did in Madeira was the same thing. Like 1 year ago, Madeira had, I think, 39 or 42 Bitcoin businesses. and it felt like a community like this, because Madeira is a small place. You know how many businesses they have now?
No.
1 year later, over 300.
Oh my God.
The number of tourists that are going to Bitcoin there to spend Bitcoin, and the community you have a circular economy that you can buy anything in that region, and that's available to any single region in the world, and it's happening. Why? How is it happening? It's happening by people like you, or people at Coinos, or people just going and doing it, and it's individuals literally changing other people's lives through this. It's wild to watch.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Sorry, can I just add one thing? Look, I don't get paid to plug people or whatever. There's no stake in the outcome here. Coinos has been absolutely great. They came to one of our companies to, bring a way of accepting Bitcoin at our location. Now, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but it's ours. And they were absolutely amazing, and they made it so simple. And so if anyone's thinking about it, you know what, call Coinos. They're awesome.
Hell yeah.
I also think about what because like most people are probably a little bit uneasy just going around the city and trying to really orange pill every merchant, but what everyone can do, and I tried that out, and it's really easy, and I think it has some impact, is like, if you come to the point of paying as you would do, like cash or credit card, just dropping in like, can I pay with Bitcoin? And in that way, that just that one question maybe sparks something, and maybe then a little bit later someone else comes in, and when there's 2 people in a week, or like 2 people in 2 weeks, I think that makes a huge difference. So even if you don't orange pill really hard, just asking the question, can I pay in Bitcoin, might make some difference.
Yeah, I like that. Well, gents, I'm cognizant of time, but there's one thing that I wanted to touch on before we go, and maybe I'll segue. I know, Jeff, you wanted to touch on a particular topic, so I'll volley it to you, and just get your thoughts on the topic at hand.
Yeah. So Luke dropped in the post earlier on about people using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And that's important. And we've talked about why that's important. And I saw a bunch of comments in the chat as well, as save your Bitcoin no matter what, don't spend it. And so think about the world that we're about to go through, and what has always happened to money. Like, always, money has always been centralized. And if it's always been centralized and then changed the rules on money for 5,000 years, then we must be part of the thing that's centralizing it. Right, we fall for a trick of the inflationary monetary system. We trust institutions. We fall for that. And we remove our accountability because we trust somebody else has it. So if it's always looked like that, and then gold gets repriced like in 1933 or 1971 because it's centralized, why would that look any different now? Right? Because are we smarter than we've ever been? And I don't think that that's true. I think that's just it seems so easy to use the system, and because that's the way the system looks. So imagine what's going to happen. You know for sure what's going to happen. Most people will measure Bitcoin price go up because they're so used to it. Where they're really saying I'm trading this for a piece of paper at some point. They'll sell their Bitcoin, and it'll be centralized by BlackRock, the governments, everything else will be central. All of those will be held at Coinbase, and it'll keep on centralizing. And if they don't spend it, it'll continue to be centralized, right? And they'll trust all of the ETFs and everything else. They won't self-custody because that will feel hard. The other thing will be easier. They'll use Tether as their on-ramp. And then the attack will come. That attack wouldn't come now. It couldn't come now because right now there are so many nodes that know that attack will come, that chain, the cheating chain, would go to zero today. But fast forward 4 years, if people have all got rich in Bitcoin and they've trusted that system, fast forward 4 years from now, and they're all centralized, what would happen? And I think people need to realize kind of what these systems are incompatible. One is the free market, prices fall. One is an extractive market, prices rise. If you're measuring Bitcoin in the extractive market, you're part of the old system. And you'll probably take risks with your Bitcoin. You'll probably not be in self-custody. You'll probably not run a node. And at some point, that chain is going to try to attack this chain. It has to, because they're completely opposite systems. And what I suspect is going to happen, because what's happening so fast is this network of people spending in Bitcoin and all of the other tools like Fediment and other things to make this an entire circular economy. By the time that attack comes, if it comes, that's true hyper-Bitcoinization, because the cheating chain and all of the people that are in that are going to get wiped out by the honest. But what that takes is to understand what's happening and to be part of the network. Spend it. You can always, if you're spending in it, you can always buy more the next day, right? You buy more right away. But if you're spending in it, you're incentivizing the network, the world that you want to see. If you're not, you're consolidating, you're centralizing.
Yeah.
So sorry for that rant, but it's a really important topic that most people are going to get confused about, because this is such we've never seen this type of technology that can stay decentralized and secure. And our human need, or how we think about it, we will trust others, or most people will trust others. So it's important that we talk about this, what is likely to come, so we're ready, and people have already moved, and you have the rails of commerce in the new system that provides abundance to all 8 billion of us.
I wanted.
Go ahead.
Can I just quickly? I think because of what Jeff just said, a lot of people confused the spending Bitcoin with selling Bitcoin, and spending Bitcoin is just using basically the network, and you can still have a positive cash flow. You can still accumulate more Bitcoin each month while spending your Bitcoin, because I also saw one comment of saying like, oh, why should I spend my Bitcoin? Then I basically just spend it to someone that stacks it. But you can stack it and use the system and still get more Bitcoin even while spending it. I think that's a very important point.
I like minimizing my exposure to the fiat system in every possible way. When somebody asks to pay me in dollars, I shudder a little bit. But also, I actively, like, when I'm, pricing things, when somebody wants to pay me, I actually charge a fiat premium now. So it's like, if somebody wants to pay me in dollars, I feel like, yes, you could do discounts in Bitcoin, and that's a valid way of doing it as well, of incentivizing things. But I feel that the way that you communicate is so much better when you say the price is this, and then somebody says, okay, great, I'd love to pay you. And you say, oh, you're paying in dollars. Okay. There's a premium on that, because it communicates how little I enjoy being paid in dollars. I don't want it. I don't want to deal with the bank accounts. I want the money to land and be mine immediately to do with as I please, because there's been so many, barring that other thing that happened a few years ago, there's been plenty of times where I've gone to use bank accounts and it's just like, oh, this got flagged, this, you can't do this, there's a limit here, there's where you have Bitcoin, it's just yours. It's like cash in your pocket. You can use it as you please. And it's just, that you have full control over it. And I just love that feeling. So Ken, I don't know if you have anything to add there, but feel free.
Yeah, no, fiat's a pain in the ass. Every time we try to deal with the banks, it's so clunky. So from a practical perspective, I actually hate dealing with the banks. They're shut down half the time. If you ever have to wire something or do whatever, they charge you a fortune and things get delayed. I just dealt with it this week. I had a wire transfer delayed a week. It's crazy. And like when you're, transferring Bitcoin, it happens instantaneously. So no, we use it. We transact in it. The only challenge we have is because in Canada, every time you do a transaction, technically it's a capital transaction, but the amounts we do right now are still so small, it's irrelevant. But what we have to do is we have to change the tax code here, or we're not going to get mass adoption if Seyr tries to enforce it.
Yeah, it would be a tad daunting figuring out the gains on your latte. Maybe, but such is life. But I mean, again, like the local markets and stuff like that, it's nice to just be able to proud dad moment at the last SAP market. My 7-year-old daughter was running around with her iPad, and there's a bunch of merchants that are just kind of learning Bitcoin, and they're accepting it, and they're fiddling with their wallets, figuring out how to create an invoice. And my daughter's just ready to pay. She already knows what's up. Everybody's like, who the hell is this kid that just is able to do all this? And I'm off to the side like, that's mine. So yeah, proud dad moment there. She spent some sats and was very excited about it. And now if she gets allowance or something, she's starting to ask for Bitcoin for it, because she's getting it. So anyways, gentlemen, I'm going to round it out here. I want to say a huge thank you to you guys for coming, getting bullish with me on a Friday evening. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for being here. Please do give that like button a tap. It really, really does help out the show. And if anybody here is still on their learning journey and they're trying to figure out things like wallets, hardware, running a node, you've probably heard that a few times this episode, even just like hobbyist home mining, all that kind of stuff, you can check out my team over at bitcoinmentor.io. And that's where you can book one-on-ones to help you through stuff. Of course, all the free tutorials exist on the channel as well, so peruse through those. But if you need some hand-holding, there's a QR code you can scan and head over to bitcoinmentor.io. But with that, gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. And to everybody that came, this was great. Thanks for being here. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.